If you've been thinking about buying Bitcoin, or maybe you've dabbled a little bit into it recently, but you want to make sure you show up to that holiday party being the proud owner of some Bitcoin, then this video is for you. I'm going to be talking about the price projections of Bitcoin, not just my price projections, but investing professionals, the likes of Fidelity's head of macro investments, putting on a very large number. We'll get into that in a minute. I'm also going to talk about the three different ways, and really there's only three different ways to buy Bitcoin and store it safely so that you can take full advantage of the asset. Most people have no idea what they can do if they own Bitcoin, and I'll get into that in a minute. Then we're going to talk about what are the professionals, what are the people that have been in crypto, these experienced professionals for the last 5-10 years, what are they doing right now? And I'm going to dive into that because I've spent the last couple years working at a crypto startup company and been invested in Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies for over the last 5 years. So I'll dive into some of that experience and give you a heads up as far as what they're doing. And then we'll talk about the future of Bitcoin and the future of cryptocurrency, how I see it. And I think there's going to be some pretty exciting things coming that will allow people to utilize Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies that you just probably aren't aware of and where we're headed. So let's dive into where we're going with price. As of the middle of November 2024, one Bitcoin is about $90,000. That price could go up substantially and very quickly, taking a lot of people by surprise. Basically, there's a few things that are going to be at play, and I like to look at Bitcoin as one of the purest forms of understanding economics. Supply and demand. When supply is decreased, when there's less of an item and the demand is going up, that price has to go up naturally. And that's what's happening right now. A lot of companies, a lot of institutions, some pensions, and some governments, including the United States government, are looking at investing into Bitcoin. And it doesn't take much for the price of Bitcoin to go up when there's only 21 million that will ever be created. Now, all 21 million are not available right now. There's actually even less available on a daily basis, which even puts more pressure on that price. See, a lot of the governments and a lot of the institutions, a lot of where the big money is, I see this playing out as almost a race to the top, very similar to like a race to the bottom in pricing and business. For example, Walmart. When Walmart comes into an area and everyone else is then starting to compete on price for the same product, there's this natural race to the bottom. And that person or that business that can win by charging the least and still being profitable and staying in business is bound to be the survivor of that battle or that race. The same thing's happening with Bitcoin, in my opinion. I see a race to the top. And now there's no theoretical max price that Bitcoin could be at. There are a lot of big money institutions, governments, companies, and even investors that are looking at Bitcoin as a store of value. And so what's going to happen naturally is that price will increase. How much? Well, I'm looking at some of these projections, and these are projections across the board from multiple different professionals. These are people who have been involved in not just crypto investing, but in stocks and equities for years. By the end of 2025, estimates range from $250,000 per Bitcoin to $1 million. And then by 2030, some estimates go up to $5 million. And then there's one estimate that kind of just doesn't make sense when you say it out loud, but the Fidelity Investments head of macro investing, he put a price projection on Bitcoin by 2038 of $1 billion. Now, this is primarily has to do with Metcalfe's law. Basically, the networks, as a financial product is on a network and it's able to increase on scale, that's going to, again, with supply and demand, that shock to the system, $1 billion. So, however you look at Bitcoin and your investment portfolio, I think it's really important to understand that it's not just you, and it's not just your cousins and your uncle and your family members that are like, hey, I own some Bitcoin. These are actual institutions, even governments that are looking at and have already purchased Bitcoin. So this race, once this starts happening, as the U.S. government maybe starts their strategic reserve, other countries and other institutions will want to front run, basically try to get ahead of that so that they can get it at a lower price. And again, with supply and demand, basic economics, price go up. So there's that warning, word to the wise, I should say. So what are the most experienced crypto investors doing with their money right now, and how do they look at the next 1 to 2 years of this investment cycle, especially with regards to the price of Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies? Well, I can tell you, having spent the last couple years working at a crypto startup, we created things like NFTs for games, video games, and music and films. We also had multiple tokens and coins that were created. So I understand the industry pretty well, and actually probably more than most people. So take that with a grain of salt. But from what I understand and from who I follow and who I know in the industry, most people are looking at Bitcoin as all roads lead to Bitcoin. Now, they might be spending a lot of their time focusing in on some of these more high risk investments right now, things like altcoins that are lower in market cap. These are coins and tokens that might have a market capitalization of less than 10 million, could be less than 100 million, but definitely lower value of market cap so that they're a lot more volatile, have a lot more potential upside. Obviously, they could go to zero, and a lot of them probably will. But a lot of these investors, a lot of these people that have been in the industry understand that there's this natural kind of flow of investment. And again, all roads will lead to Bitcoin. So just keep in mind that everyone is looking at Bitcoin, including the largest governments, institutions, companies, and the professionals, the people who understand this industry. So with all of that being said, how do you buy your Bitcoin? How do you buy Bitcoin and make sure that you store it, you secure it safely? As I mentioned before, there are really 3 ways to buy Bitcoin safely and securely. Now, each of these are going to have their own pros and cons, but there is one recommended option, which I'll cover at the end. The first one, the easiest one, is the ETFs, which are the exchange-traded funds. Most people are probably aware that the Bitcoin ETFs were launched in the early 2024. There's 11 of them now, the largest being the BlackRock iShares, ticker symbol IBIT, IBIT. This has the largest assets under management, and in fact, it just recently surpassed the iShares Gold ETF as far as assets under management. So a lot of attention, a lot of money being moved into that ETF. It's a great option. The downside, though, is you don't own the Bitcoin. You own a share in the ETF, and that doesn't allow you to move the Bitcoin, doesn't allow you to take possession of the Bitcoin. It only allows you to buy and sell that ETF share. Also, you're going to be paying a fee, which is the expense ratio for the ETF. Just like any other ETF, you have an expense ratio that's based off of the assets under management. So if you have $100,000 and the expense ratio is 0.25%, which is the IBIT's expense ratio, you're going to be paying that every year based on the assets under management. And as they grow, BlackRock makes that money. That's why BlackRock and all these companies, these institutions, wanted to accept Bitcoin as an ETF so they can make money. They're not dummies. So understand that for the simplicity that the ETF allows, basically buying it on any brokerage, you do have some major considerations to make as far as if you actually want to own Bitcoin, how it was intended to be owned. So how was it intended to be owned? Well, it was intended to be owned and kept securely and safely by yourself in what's called a hard wallet, or basically cold storage, which allows you to control the asset. Well, what's in between there? Well, you can go and buy Bitcoin on platforms like Coinbase or exchanges, Venmo, Robinhood, some of these platforms that allow you to buy the Bitcoin. Now, you own the Bitcoin and you're able to move it to other wallets if you want to. But the downside to this example is if you leave it there on the platform, there's a potential that the platform gets hacked. There's a potential that the platform, there's almost like a run on the bank where they close down withdrawals or exchanges or moving the funds, and which has been done in the past, not specifically Coinbase or any of those, but there's examples of that. FTX is a great example of, or bad example, great example, bad example. FTX basically had a lot of people's money on the platform, and those people did not pull their Bitcoin or their cryptocurrencies into their own wallets. They left them on the platform, and unfortunately were locked up as part of that exchange going down, that fraud. So there's that. Now, the pros of that is it's pretty simple, right? You can open up a Coinbase, even Venmo. I've got some friends that have purchased some Bitcoin from Venmo. I think my sister maybe bought some Bitcoin from Venmo or some of these other platforms that make it easy, right? The next step, the best way to do this is to actually take full responsibility of your Bitcoin and own it directly on a cold storage or a hardware wallet, like a Ledger or a Trezor. Now, there's a lot more to it, a lot more complexity. I'm going to be recording a video that shows you how to do that, how to buy it on Coinbase and how to move it over to a hardware wallet like a Ledger. It's actually fairly simple after you understand how to do it, but there are a lot of responsibilities, meaning you own it and you control it. There's a private key, it's an encryption key. Basically, it's a series of 12 or 24 words that is your password in essence to your money. If you lose that or you have somebody else gains control of it, then you're out of luck. But that's part of being your own bank, being your own control of your Bitcoin. And so I'll talk about that in another video. Like I mentioned, I'll actually record an in-depth breakdown of how to do that, how to buy it on an exchange, move it into a cold wallet, and ways that you can protect yourself by storing the actual encryption key in different places, all of that. I'll talk about that in the future videos, so but make sure you hit like, subscribe to this video if that's something you want to see next time. Leave a comment down below and let me know if you've done that yourself and if it's been successful. So what's the future of Bitcoin and cryptocurrency? Where are we headed with all of this? I don't think most people realize that the underlying technology, blockchain, is going to revolutionize the world. Now we've got AI, which is a big buzzword, but blockchain to me is just as big, if not bigger than AI, because everything that we own, everything that we do, transact on, whether it's voting, I believe voting will eventually be on the blockchain. Hopefully it's on there by 2028, by the next presidential election. It'll be much more efficient. It'll be secure. It won't have to trust other entities to count ballots correctly. You can actually get counts instantaneously. There's going to be a lot of things like your car, your home, the deed and titles to these things, these assets that will be stored on the blockchain. You'll be able to transfer ownership within minutes. You won't have to go through these government entities. In order to buy a home, it's like you got to go through all this stuff, escrow accounts. Literally buying and selling a home will be done through the blockchain. DMVs, your driver's license, passports, all of these things will be on the blockchain. And there will be cryptocurrencies, these tokens or coins that are associated that work on those blockchains that allow you to move funds, to move things. For video games, this is going to be huge. This is really going to be the proving case of blockchain and cryptocurrency is video gamers are going to start seeing the amazing potential. Now, think about like my daughters play Minecraft and Roblox and some of these really big games that you buy like $5 or $10, give you hundreds of these points for Robux, and you go buy something and that's it. You're done. You can't sell it again. You basically have just paid money for this digital thing. In the future, well, and that actually happens right now, but in the future, everyone's going to be trading these NFTs. So when you buy something for your daughter in Roblox, she'll be able to basically sell that on the open market when she's done using it. I just don't think people understand the potential of blockchain, Bitcoin. I'll have to create another video. So where are we headed with all of this? It only gets better. It only gets more efficient. It only creates more opportunities for us to earn money from the assets, but you have to own the assets. You have to own the Bitcoin. You have to control the Bitcoin. You have to control the cryptocurrency. Learn how to do that. And I'm going to be creating another video, like I mentioned, on how to actually buy it off of an exchange, move it over to a wallet so you can control it, and how to actually manage that process so that it's second nature, but you know where it is and how to gain access to it and how it all works. So hopefully that's been helpful for you. Hit like, hit subscribe. It helps me and it helps the channel. It's free. And if you want to watch this video next on Bitcoin, have a great day and thanks for stopping by.